Welcome. You are here with Keys to Living. Narrator is Herb Keener, and I am Herb Keener. Today, we're going to talk about how you make decisions and what the consequences are and why the consequences could be easy or why they're really bad. I want you to take a look at my book, Decision to Die, Strength to Live. Read that, and if you think you have problems, well, you'll realize that you're not in any kind of position that I haven't been in plus. So take a look at that book and see what God done for me. So today, I want to talk about some of the news items, and the news items are about some really injustice going on right now. But you know what's so sad? Most of us, probably everybody that's watching this, has heard about this thing in Los Angeles. This lady run through a red light at 90 miles an hour, killed 5 people, including an 8.5-month fetus. Now, this lady, very well educated because she was a traveling nurse. I watched the clip of her coming off of the freeway and she was on this road, and I mean, it looked like a bullet. And all of a sudden, all you seen was a ball of fire. And when it was over, she had minor injuries, but she had taken the life of 5 people, plus a baby that was going to be born within the next 30 days. Now, what causes that type of catastrophe? At one point, she had to make a decision to do whatever she did. They didn't get a lot of information. The news, which sometimes you have a hard time believing all of that, but she had been in 13 accidents before this one. And I thought, wow. Now, whether they were her faults or not, now that's another story. I'm not talking about. What I'm talking about is 5 people left this planet way too early. We're talking about young people. Ashley Ryan was 22 years old, and she was 8.5 months pregnant with her baby, and she knew it was a boy, and they had already named it Armani Lester. Her boyfriend, Mr. Lester, was killed also. And then their 11-month-old Alonzo Quintero child was killed. Basically took out a whole young family. You know, and then there's 2 ladies that were killed in the accident that they have yet to identify. Now, I can't imagine losing an entire family. I've lost a lot of family members. But people have to start standing up to a little better values. Now, something had to cause this for her to do 90 miles an hour into an intersection that was busy. I mean, it was busy. If you get an opportunity, just go on the news and put in Google that 5 people died from nurse driving or anything like that. It'll come up, and you'll be able to see that clip. You'll see her come off of a ramp that doing 90 miles an hour, probably over 100. By the time she got to that light, she was doing 90 miles an hour. Took 5 people's life. 23-year-old girl. And, you know, I don't know how old her boyfriend was, but think about this now. They were going to the doctor to be sure that everything was okay with the new baby that was going to be born. That was their purpose when they got up that morning. But when the sun set, not only her, two other ladies that we don't know about, her boyfriend, her young child, and the unborn child was dead. They listed on the death certificate, died the same day he was born. I don't know how they dealt with that because, number one, he wasn't born. He was killed in the womb. So, of course, we allow for the news. They love to do things that nobody else cares about. But think about this. If you have children, if you have brothers, you have sisters, uncles, aunts, all these people, and one morning you wake up and the entire family is gone. You know, we have to start valuing and we have to start being responsible. Now, this lady, more than likely, it will be years before a final thing comes up, but they say that there's a chance she could get 90 years in prison, which for me, I believe that would be fair. She took 5 people's life plus an unborn baby. She should, her own life. She should not be able to enjoy the rest of her life. But that's just me. But then there is these unjust. We have in Tulare. You got to think about this one. In Tulare, Francine Salazar, on August 7th, 2019, this lady run a stop sign and took 10-year-old Francine's life. Now this is something that just infuriates me. Number one, whoever wrote it up on Channel 30 or whatever, them people need to get another job. Their synopsis of what happened was that she missed the stop sign. Well, I'm 81 years old, seen a lot of ads, a lot of stories. Never in my life have I heard it called missing a stop sign. Was that her target? Was the stop sign was her target, but she missed it and killed a 10-year-old? Come on, folks. She ran through a stop sign. And then this is what infuriates me the most, is this lady was driving illegal. She didn't have a legal license. That had been suspended. And I'm sure it was probably for some horrendous thing. But now, this happened in 2019. Now, 2 weeks ago, they done the plea. She pleaded not guilty. Now, I'm not going to say her name, but you go on Google again and put in there, lady runs stop sign, kills 10-year-old. I promise you it'll come up. Her name's there. But little Francine Salazar was headed to the ice cream shop to celebrate the new school year. And then she runs this stop sign, or if stop sign was the target, she missed it and killed a 10-year-old. I don't know what that person that wrote that was even thinking. It sounds to me like whoever it is trying to fall on the side of the perpetrator instead of the victim. And then you know what? Now, I got to tell you, this really infuriated me, was the fact that this lady who killed this 10-year-old from running to a stop sign in 2021 September 21, she got a ticket for driving without on suspended license. They didn't say why she got pulled over. They didn't say anything. The person wrote that article with just literally hiding facts and making it say, oh, and by the way, she got another ticket. And this lady, after killing a 10-year-old, a year later, this is how she honors the memory of Francine, is she's out there driving again. And you think for a minute that was the only time? She probably been driving every day since she done that. So 3 years. Now here's how they blame what it is. They blame it on pandemic, and they blame it on delays. They don't say what delay. They just do it. And she was arraigned in July 2020. Now that's a year after she killed this child. Now come on, folks. Justice needs to be somewhere in here. And then the arraignment for what she needs to stand up for and be accountable for was just 2 weeks ago. 3 years has passed. This lady's had her freedom, done everything she wanted to do, even continued driving. And, you know, I'm sure she didn't have insurance. That's something that I hope the Salazar family comes out with okay. But she goes to court starting September 7th. And this coming September 7th, she's going to court in Tulare County Court. People, you need to keep an eye on this one. And if it's not what I feel this has already showed so much unjust for people. The keys to living is you got to be living to know the keys. You got to be living. You can't be dead and figure out what the keys are to living. This lady who has already been driving illegally, as far as I'm concerned, she had an illegal gun and shot that kid. It's the same thing that they're talking about now. But she used a vehicle to do it, and I'm sure, now I have no doubt she didn't mean to kill that child. But she was driving illegally. So for me, that's almost premeditated murder. This child is dead. Never going to live anymore. She would be 13 years old now, and she wanted to be a TikTok star and wanted to be a YouTube person. And so she was all excited about that. Now, at 13 years old, she could have been accomplishing that. But she didn't, because some lady decided to illegally drive, missed a stop sign, and killed her. Her life stopped. So, folks, you need to start thinking about this could happen in your family. So the keys to living, far as I'm concerned, is we need to be aware. We need to be aware of how we're making our decisions. We need to be aware of what's going on in our life. What can I do to keep something from this happening? What can I do? You know, pretty soon people are going to be so scared they can't even leave their home. It's terrible. Life is getting dangerous. Not just for the poor, not just for the medium, but for everybody. You know, if you get into the news, before it's all over, you'll be so depressed you can't even get out of bed. So I suggest you just take that news a little bit at a time. Because in order to find a good key to live by, you're not going to find it in the news. You're going to find what some person made a decision to do that the consequences are going to be a lifetime. Now, this lady that pleaded not guilty, mind you, now think about it. I see them fixing to set up something They're saying she could do 6 years in jail. 6 years isn't enough, as far as I'm concerned. But if that's all they can give her, she needs to do every single minute of it. She needs. That takes 6 years out of her life. What did she take from Francine? She took 40, 50, 60 years from her life. And she's going to give up 6 years and be okay? But you know she feels real bad about it because she done the same thing a year later. Now, you think for a moment that the reason she got stopped, she might have missed another stop sign, only this time there wasn't somebody there to kill? So and her background is drugs. Been drugs since the 90s. So these judges, these people now, we've been 3 years and the lady just now put in a plea. Something's wrong with that. And I don't care if a pandemic, and she done it on Zoom. So she could have done that back when in August August 2019, she could have made her plea back then. So anyway, I come on to the show angry today because of that. But I mean, we're going to mellow out here in a minute. But I want you to know you need to start watching these people. These people are losing their children, losing their loved ones, and people are getting away scot-free. Something has to change. You know what? Fresno, right now, Fresno's hit and runs are on the rise. In 2021, there were 1,600 hit and runs. Now, why do you think that is? That's because people know that there's no consequences for what they do. The article said, well, you know, it'd be better if they stayed and done this and done that, and they wouldn't be so bad on them. Now, that's a lie of the devil, because number one, that's why they're running, because they know there's a chance they'll get away. Number two, even if they get caught, they're not going to get anything more than what they would have if they stayed. So don't tell me for a moment they're worried about whether there's going to be more consequences or not, because by the time these lawyers get their money and they deal with whatever, they end up doing a plea bargain thing and do 30 days when they should do 30 years. You know what? I'm sick and tired of seeing this injustice in our system, and I mean people getting away with murder. But anyway, 2021 there was 1,600. Now that is 133 a month. Now come on. Now, right now, from January 1 till today, there's been 900 hit and runs. Now that's 150 a month. And well, we still got the rest of the year to go. So that means we're 17 per month more now than it was last year. So what's going on with that? We're people are hitting people and running, and nobody will. It seems to be that nobody cares unless it's them. Now, if it's them, they have a big problem. They want it all justified and all this. But if it's not them, they say, "Oh well, that wasn't me." And I think that's what's wrong with it today. Is we need more accountability for our own self. If we see it, we need to get license number. We need to get cars. Excuse me. We need to help these people get justice. When somebody, especially when there's a death, and I mean, I read about some of the hit and runs, and one guy, after hitting this person, and they fell out of the car and they run over them as they were leaving, and then naturally they died. Now, come on. There's something seriously wrong. Now, at this rate, if we're adding 17 a month, so next year we'll add 32 a month more. So we'll get into pretty soon, it'll be 200 or 300 a month. Where's this going to stop? And I'm going to tell you, I'm a firm believer in my brother, Mike Briggs. If he would have got into the position that he was running for, I believe in my heart it would have been better. But people chose the ones that had more money than they had sense. So I'm saying we've got to get people like Mike onto these board meetings. We got to get them into the system so that we got to say, hey, what can we do? What is there to do? How are we going to take this number the other way instead of upward? How do we make it 17 less a month instead of 17 more? I'm telling you, folks, it's not good. The way we see things going. But again, this is what's going on in the world. The people that are getting away with it now, let me tell you what, I'm a firm believer. I used to worry about these people that get away with this stuff, and these people that are making money and they're absolute crooks and they have no values whatsoever. And I prayed about it and dealt with it. Well, God gave me the answer. There's a verse in the Bible that says, do not be concerned for those who prosper that do evil, for I know their end. That released me of being worried about it. This lady that killed these people, this lady that's trying to get away from killing a 10-year-old girl, even if she goes scot-free, God knows her end, and he knows justice will be then. But hopefully we'll be able to get justice here. But if not, don't get caught up in it. Believe that God knows their end. He knows that the justice is right and it's going to be strong. And for the people that are hurting innocent people, they will be accountable. They will pay. So don't get caught up in worried about it. Keep living. Keep making choices. Keep making. Look at all the keys there are to living. Then start putting them into your life. When you make decisions, do you make them on the emotions of your life? Do you make your decisions based on who you're mad at today, or who's mad at you? Or God says to make your decisions based on your heart. Know that the decision you're making is right. It's not going to harm anybody, and it can't be of value less. You can't value life less than what it is. You can't say, well, it don't matter, that person's dead, but I'm okay. No, we got to start being concerned to who we are, where we're at, what we're doing, who we're doing it with. Friends, you need to start looking how you're making your decisions. And I guarantee you, this lady that killed them 5 people, this lady that killed a 10-year-old, if she was basing her decisions based on obeying the law and obeying the calls of God, that 10-year-old would be 13 years old now. But her decision was based on an emotional, illegal attitude. Who cares? Then, a year later, and you know she's been driving all the time. She gets caught. That breaks my heart because, number one, oh, well, I killed that kid, no big deal, I can still drive. What should have been in her heart was, okay, I need to honor the law that has taken my license and I need to wait. No. And now the law is absolutely worthless because they barely mention it. It's kind of an after the fact. Oh, and by the way, she had her license taken away from her. Misdemeanor thing. Yeah, misdemeanor murder is what I call it. I got a couple more stories in the next half hour. And believe it or not, one of them is good and one of them is better. God bless. See you in a minute.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010 and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, the Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
Okay, folks. I kind of got my anger out in the first half hour, but as far as I'm concerned, it was justified. These people are going nuts, and nobody's doing anything about it. But I want to make one statement about that 10-year-old girl that died because this lady missed a stop sign. So stupid I can't even stand to say it. But the key thing, missed a stop sign. When I read that, I kind of had a visualization in my mind that she was like an arrow, and her destination was that stop sign, but she missed it. And when she missed it, she killed the 10-year-old. Yeah, she run a stop sign illegally driving, and that's how that is. Done with that. But here's the outcome of that: 6 people live today because of organs transplanted from that 10-year-old girl. 6 people live today. That's the joy of, that's the part that comes out of the tragedy, is 6 people live. They should be at that courthouse. They should be looking for justice, even though they were the benefactors of her dying. But 6 people live, and they say with all the other parts in the grafting, they healed 75 other people. Now come on, that is the part that was the good to come out of the tragedy. 6 people would have died without the transplant. 75 people will still be struggling for whatever disease or whatever problem they had if she hadn't have died. So this wonderful little girl, and I know she's sitting in the throne of God, I knew that is the most amazing thing. She gave life to 6 people. She gave healing to 75 more, all because of her little body. And the parents, they were willing to let them do that. Folks, pray for justice for Francine. Well, like I said, I've got a couple more stories, and there's a good one and a bad one. I'm going to naturally give you the bad one first. Now, this 12-year-old kid out of Hanford, he got arrested for stealing the family van. He led the Fresno deputies on a hour-long chase. Speeds exceeded 70 miles an hour. And while the police are trying to stop him with spike strips, he avoided them. This 12-year-old was on his game. But you know what was in his mind to do that? And then when he was going 70 miles an hour, this officer, a sergeant, throwing out this strip, he turned the vehicle towards the officer. I mean, he tried to run him over. Well, the officer backed out, but one of the tires got caught on the strip, and so about a mile down the road, he had to stop. But he had already had a couple of crashes, and he used to live in Sacramento. And the reason he doing this, he wanted to drive to Sacramento. You know, he had friends and things like that. Instead of being like a normal child, just getting over it, calling them on the phone, I'm sure the parents said, no, you're not going to Sacramento. This is that and that. And he decided in his mind, now here, one of the keys in his mind said, I need the keys to those vans. He said, I'll go to Sacramento and see my friends. Now, ever how he come up with that type of thinking. Folks, if you got a 12-year-old child, you need to take a good look at him. Because the decision this child made, he's to end up going to get nothing out of it, I guarantee you. And probably righteously so, because if he turns his life around now, he will be off. But if this is a trend of his life, doing what he wants, not what anybody else wants, but this is me, I'm privileged, I can do this, and it's nobody's business. And so on the list of his charges is a charge against trying to take down an officer. I mean, come on. So that's an extra charge, which I really, if you follow this story, which it's in the same, if you put it in there, Hanford boy, 12-year-old, you'll get the whole story out and all that. But what caused this to do? What about the parents? What value were they thinking of if they knew the child? Now, if he done this, I'm sure he has done plenty more that they have controlled. But I don't care how good a parent you are. I don't care how much righteousness you teach your child. I don't care if you are the perfect parent. When that child's 12 years old, and if they have an evil mind, there's nothing your teaching is going to do to stop the action of them having them thoughts, because they're dealing with emotions of this life. He wanted to be in Sacramento, and he couldn't get there because he didn't have no way. So his mind, he made his decision on his emotions. I want to be somewhere I can't be, so I'll do this illegally. I'll take this van, I'll go, do whatever. And he had a crash. That's how they spotted him. He had a minor crash, hit a sign or something, and just kept going. Then when they asked him to stop, he sped away. So he spent an hour-long chase. Now come on, 12 years old, he's making these decisions not to stop. Where do you think that decision is coming from? It's not coming from the heart, not the value of other people's lives, not the value of whether he's doing something illegal or not. He's doing it out of the emotions of his mind. He wants to do something, and people don't want him to do it, but he's going to do it anyway because he has the power. Well, the courts have gave all the children the power and taken it away from the parents. One of these days, and it's probably already here, most of those people that made those laws seen that was the dumbest thing in the world, is give the power to 10 and 11-year-olds. And if you spank me, I'm going to call the cops. I'll 911. Then you end up in jail if you spank a child. I had a lot of spankings when I grew up. I was a mean, ornery dude, and it didn't have any. My mama was the best mama there ever was, and she taught me never to lie, cheat, or steal, and I done it all. And she showed me how to do it. But see, I done it anyway. That's because my thinking was way beyond her thinking. Mine was, I want this, so I'm going to do it. I stole my first car at 13 years old. Done 2 weeks in juvenile. All right, then months later, stole another car. Went and had an accident, and then jumped in, stole another car with a friend of mine. We're all over the place. We're in Marysville. So I know what this young man's mind, what was going through it, is he wanted to do something that nobody wanted him to do. If you have a 12-year-old child, there's a way to get to their heart. And that's where you got to get to. You can't change their mind. Their mind is not changeable. They got it. In order for that mind to be changed from doing illegal things to legal, it has to go through the heart. They have to value love. They have to value the law. They have to value that. Children do not value the law today. And they have no reason to, because number one, every time they get arrested, they maybe, well, if they hit them on the hand, they'd probably go to jail. But anyway, the key thing is they slap them on the wrist and say, well, go back home and try it again. Now, I know young men that had been in and out of juvenile until they turned 18. Then I watched them go in and out of jail. So where does this all stop? Where do we start valuing the righteousness, the not lying, not stealing, not cheating? Where do we value this at? If we don't value that, we will not ever be able to get our children to. This story that I'm telling you about this 12-year-old boy from Hanford, now he's naturally going to get a record on his story about this. He's going to have a record. But at 18, it'll go away, and that won't be a problem. Now, he can do one or two things. At 18 years old, this will completely go away. Then, when he commits the acts he does, it starts getting on his adult record, not his teen record. Then that's where the issues really begin. So if they can change his mind through the values of his heart, before he turns 18, he may become a very powerful and great young man doing good things. Now that's absolutely what he needs to do. But I don't know the young man, but he's not the only one. There's hundreds, probably thousands out there doing the same exact thing. I'm going to tell you, for him to go through all he went through, stealing that car, he's lucky he didn't kill somebody. But with him going through all that, there's going to have to be a time in his life when he looks back at that and says, wow, that was not the right thing to do. But Like I say, there's thousands of them out there. And if you are the parent of one of them, start feeding their heart, not their mind. Because the only way you're going to change their values is through the heart. They've got to care for something. If you don't care for anything, you'll do anything. If you have no value for anything in your life, well, you're just going to be a jerk the rest of your life. But if you value companionship, if you value love, if you value people, you're going to be aware of the consequences of doing things that are not, number one, that are not legal. And it's not hard to be a good person. It's really not. It takes less effort to be a good person than it does a bad person. Because number one, the bad person's got to remember, got to have a good memory because they lie all the time. And I never did have a good memory, so I always had to kind of kick out the truth, you know. And so you need to value something. I mean, don't get me wrong. I lied like a dog, boy, when I was young and to get my way. But then I realized, wow, I forgot what I told somebody one time and told them a different story, and that didn't end up good at all. So I said, well, if there's before I even got saved, I said, well, this is not cool, because if I tell the truth, I don't have to remember what I said. So I found that to be very beneficial. I was in my 30s when I figured that one out. And I said, all right. So I didn't have a problem with lying after my 30s because I didn't have a good enough memory. And I definitely not taking notes. So anyway, it become easier to tell the truth than it was to lie. Didn't mean I quit doing other things, but you know, like dealing in the drugs, like being a runner for the syndicate and things like that. I felt I was graduating. You know, I was getting into bigger and better things. The consequences of that is death. That's the name of my book, Decision to Die, Strength to Live. Because when you decide that you're going to die, there isn't anything on this earth that matters then. And if you decide to die, then God will give you the strength to live. And you're not going to get it out of your own emotions. You're not going to get it out of your own mind. You're going to have, if you're one of those that just figures you got it made and you're the biggest crook in the country, you know that there's reckoning time coming, buddy. You know, they say the draining Lake Mead is going down. They're finding bodies everywhere. They found one in a barrel. Now, you think maybe he made the wrong decision and done the wrong thing to the wrong people? He got stuffed in a barrel and ended up in Lake Mead. And the only way that they would ever discover it is because of the drought, and the water level got lower than the barrel. Now, there's your consequences for being really stupid. I promise you, he didn't get stuffed in that barrel for being a good guy. He crossed somebody that didn't like being crossed. Life is so good and so precious. And I'll bet you as he was being stuffed in that barrel, if he was still alive, he thought, wow, I wasted my life. I remember when I was going to die, my thought was this: I didn't do anything. I didn't accomplish anything on this earth. All I did was do things that I wanted to do, and I never helped anybody. I didn't even know my children's favorite color. I'm telling you, when that time comes to leave this planet, you're going to have a different thought. But if you're in the position of peace, love, joy, and you know you're living right and you know you're loving right, when it comes time to die, you're going to have a peaceful death. But I promise you, when I went to take my life, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was 38 years ago, when I said, okay, I can't. And it wasn't that I was tired of living. It was I couldn't live with the consequences that I had created. Because more than likely, being I had no money and what have you, that I was going to get 40 years in prison. So I wasn't ready to do that. But when I went to take my life, there had to be a reckoning. Because I wrote 5 suicide notes to the 5 people that were in my life at the time. And I realized I had lived for 43 years and done absolutely nothing but selfishness in myself. So, folks, you need to realize things will not be bad if you can get yourself to be good. Because, and being good isn't hard. If you don't like somebody, don't get around them. If you love somebody, tell them. If you need to love somebody from a distance, let that be the way. Adjust your life to where you don't have to lie, cheat, steal, break the law. And that's not hard now. Excuse me. I'm telling you, folks, there's millions of you out there. Yeah, all 3 of you are watching this. So the key thing, there are millions of people out there under these conditions. I know they are. I see it in the news. I see it in all the venues. More than 10 people get together, there's a shooting, So that means that there's angry. I mean, now what I feel for that first half hour is I was righteous anger because I was mad for a reason, and it breaks my heart that the injustice is coming upon things that people claim that they're okay. And they're not. They can kill people and get away with it. But what I'm telling you is, for the sake of your children, you need to look deep inside your heart and have you instilled in them what it takes to stand up to this world and stand up with value. Not with hatred, not with ugliness, not with cheating, but stand up with the righteous value and be something that is a blessing to this earth, not a curse. The love of parents for a child there's no limit to that, no matter how bad they are, no matter how good they are. That love is the same. If you've got a child that's doing bad things, you always look for the bright side. I used to go into San Quentin ministering, and you would be amazed at the stories I heard from young people. Young man, 19 years old, doing life in prison for something he didn't even remember doing because he was on drugs at the time. So as our time starts closing, I'm going to close this on a top-of-the-line blessing. I'm telling you, I'm going to give you my last story today, and it's about a 12-year-old child. It's a boy. You know what? This young man, 12 years old, he chose to hand out water to the homeless on his birthday. His request was for people to donate cases of water. That's his birthday gift. And his mother said he's been doing this since he was 4 years old. Now think about this guy. He's thinking about, he said this was more important than a party or playing video games, is handing out cold water to the homeless. Now this is in Fresno. So you want to read this story, you go in, you say, man, 12-year-old passing out water to homeless, and the whole story will jump up and you need to read about it, because this has been going on in Fresno. Think about that. But he talked about, instead of worrying about what he wanted to do or how he would feel, he said, my good feeling will come from handing water out to people that are thirsty and in this heat. How many children do you know? And I'm going to tell you what, any parent looking at this today will know. Try to separate your child from the video game. Now you'd have to have a hammer and a crowbar to get out between them. Now this young man says, it's better I do this than whether I have a birthday party or whether I play with video games. Now come on. This 12-year-old has got the right idea. This 12-year-old is going to grow up to be something that's going to benefit this and hopefully the world. But it's already benefiting Fresno. So this is the type of person that needs to be in positions of boards and places to of authority that can get things done. He said, it just feels nice for me to do this. And his mother's name is Josie. His name is Joseph O'Neill. So if you know Joseph O'Neill, you tell him that it's has went, people are observing what he's doing, and hopefully they are reeling in the reason he's doing it. It's because of love and compassion. He's making his decisions from the heart, not from the head. He can't say, well, I need more time to play videos. I need a big birthday party with lots of gifts. No, you donate a case of water and I'll go out and take it to the homeless. Now that's making decisions from the heart. That is not being selfish. Matter of fact, it's so totally opposite, it's not even funny. So Joseph O'Neill, if anybody that watches this that knows him, you give him the great kudos from us here at CVT. Because I tell you, his heart is trying to do something very seldom you see people do. Well, I hope you got something out of this. And that's quite a comparison. 12-year-old boy steals van. 12-year-old boy takes cold water to the homeless. Now, which one do you want your child to be? The thief or the water bearer? I want you to know, folks, love. You got to begin to know there's compassion, love. If you see your child doesn't have love, show him, teach him. If you're selfish-minded and you're doing things you think that child isn't watching, come on. What you are is probably what they're going to be. So you need to look to who you are. Be what it takes to be the water barrier, not the thief. God bless you all. Love you, one and all. See you next time. Have a great day.